Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Happy winter. It is here, as I'm sure we are all very much so aware, or if you have watched the news or looked at social media lately, it is almost scaring me. Goodness, they're saying trees exploding in the Northwoods because the sap could expand. You know, I love the Wisconsin Northwoods reports, and that I don't quite think we'll see that in Milwaukee County here, but you never know. But I see some new faces. If this is your first State of the Castle, would you mind raising your hand for me? Well, perfect. Or stand up. I love it. Welcome, Paul. Excellent. So, we have a very nice agenda today. A few modifications. I will be doing Brooke Harris's administrator report. And then you will hear from many of the directors that you do know, and we also want your questions or feedback as well. But first, for our resident council update, I'm going to invite Lynn on up, your council president.
I'm not sure when this tradition started of council going first, but okay. Hi, everybody.
1884.
1884. Okay. I usually don't have much to say, but, you know, hang on to your chairs because today I got a page and a half. First of all, Happy New Year to everybody. We're starting 2026, moving through it as quick as we can, at least to get to spring. Everybody was busy over the holidays with family activities, things going on here and everything, so the last council meeting, frankly, was pretty brief. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff that, you know, seemed to be going on here. But there's something very important coming up in the spring that we want you all to be aware of. We will be having our annual election for council members. So if you check in your resident handbook, you'll find a nice long description, a nice description of the council and what the responsibilities are and everything. So please, you know, take some time if you're new to East Castle to look at that. The council is the only resident group made up of members that are elected by you. So we are kind of the liaison between you guys and the admin. So I'm going to encourage you to think about it. We will be having elections the very beginning of May. And so, you know, if you have questions about it, or you want to come to a council meeting and see what the heck does this mean, please let us know, because we'll get an extra chair for you. We meet the third Thursday of the month at 9:30. Now want you to consider the following. As a council member, you would be asked to attend about 4 or 5 hours of meetings every week. You will walk the halls at least once a week looking for any concerns or problems. You will get involved if any neighbors are having misunderstandings and help them reach an agreement. Now, who thinks this sounds really like something you'd like to do? Okay, well, guess what? None of that is true. But this council really is a good working group, and I encourage you to think about it. You have to have lived here for 6 months by the election day, which is, you know, beginning of May. Again, check the handbook, please, or come and talk to a council member. Can I ask the current council members, if you're here, to stand up for a minute so we can put a face to the... Okay, so I won't name everybody, but, you know, if you see a neighbor who happens to be on council and you want to talk to them, please do. We live in a very lovely neighborhood. We have very comfortable apartments, lots of planned activities, a wonderful restaurant, and a terrific staff. But I want you to take a minute, look to your right, look at the person on your right, and look at the person on your left. You are what make East Castle Place such a special neighborhood, okay? So if you've been a resident for 6 months and you want to consider about running, you know, please come and think about it. It's not a huge time commitment, but it is really important that we keep this kind of communication line open and active, okay? Any questions that I don't want to answer? Okay. Thank you very much. That's it. I'm not going to go through the whole manual here. I was going to threaten to go page by page.
Thank you, Lynn. All right. So as I mentioned, Brooke will not be making this month's State of the Castle, but I will give her administrator update. So occupancy over in Bradford Terrace, our assisted living is filled to the brim. We are 100% occupied in that area. And then our health center has been very full this past month too, averaging around 38 out of 40, which is very strong. We see anywhere from 5 to 7 individuals admit in our healthcare area per week, 5 to 7 individuals discharged per week. So it's a very busy place over there with individuals coming for rehab or therapy services or just nursing services in general. Our memory support neighborhood, we've had some recent transitions of individuals moving up to our healthcare areas. And so we have some openings in our memory support neighborhood, transitional living on our 3rd floor, which is always opportunity to get us back to the drawing board of, if there's neighbors or if there's individuals externally who are interested in exploring or learning more about those areas. But that is our occupancy update for our Bradford Terrace. So very steady, very strong, which is exactly what we like to see. Infection control. I think it is no stranger to each and every one of you that the flu has been going around, as well as just what appears to be the common cold, neurovirus, as well, COVID, With that, right now, knock on wood, we don't have any internal cases of influenza or of COVID, which is fantastic. And that also is the same for our employees. So I will say hats off to our housekeeping team, you all for doing your efforts of obviously hand washing, using the hand sanitizer, and then wearing a mask if you need to, or just limiting your group participation if needed to as well. And then obviously Eric and his housekeeping team continued to do high level touch points of cleaning in the elevators, hand railings on the common spaces or in the hallways, because again, that's usually when it happens, when you grab a door handle, you itch your eye and so on. So as always, I recommend that, we stay within East Castle because we never know what's going on outside of there. And this weekend's a good weekend to stay indoors, isn't it? Yes. So we have everything you need right here as a one-stop shop with Majorca's hospitality and Evan's community life department. But again, really positive efforts from all of you and our employees, I would say, that we have not brought in, because that's usually when it happens, is someone external comes in or someone goes out to the community, to the movie theater or the grocery store, and then gets sick and still have to come to work because people do still obviously need to pay their bills. But I will keep you all abreast, obviously, if things transpire via email and via bulletins. So if there is any changes in that. Any questions for the occupancy or infection control? Yes.
I don't know what the fulfillment is, the number that is possible for both the levels of health care and then for the memory and assisted living and so on.
Oh, sure. So the question was essentially what is our fulfillment or size of our healthcare areas? So on our 1st and 2nd floor assisted living, we have 18 apartments. And then on our 3rd floor memory support neighborhood, transitional living, we have 16 apartments. And then in our skilled health center area, we have 40 apartments in that area, so 20 on each floor. Good question. Any other questions for the administrator update? Yeah.
You don't have any thing like that people that are work here don't have off or any sick leave?
Right now, we don't have any employees out
I
ill
know, but
necessarily.
if they are sick, do they come into work?
No, if our employees are sick, they are educated to stay home from work. Obviously, we do have a generous time off plan that they would then use so that they can still get paid for their time off if they are out sick. And then obviously if that's an extended leave, that's different, but they would get paid if they have that ability or that paid time off, which we have for our employees here who are full-time and part-time. So we do not want our employees coming to work sick. That is for certain. And we will, if we recognize that, we will send them home. They are educated. This particular environment from a regulatory standpoint from the state as well as federally, specifically in our more acute areas in the health center, we do have stricter, 2 or more symptoms or that they are not able to work. Again, that being said, allergy season, I wake up with a scratchy throat and I sneeze. That's not 2 symptoms per se, but again, I'm running that fever and I've had a sore throat all day. I should not be here. And then we do have very strict return to work protocols in order to combat that are even outside of the normal general population in the community or what a restaurant or a bank teller would have in terms of their illness protocols. So very strict guidelines for that. All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll invite up Evan for the community life update.
Good afternoon, everyone. Put this up a little bit. Can you hear me in the back there, Liz?
Yes.
Wonderful. So I have a few updates. The first one is a new monthly initiative we're launching called the ECP Community Wellness Series. This is a series that will feature ongoing educational presentations centered on wellness and well-being. Our first program will take place on February 23rd. And these are programs highlighted with our community partners and our in-house resources in coordination with our health services team in Bradford Terrace. We want this to be beneficial and something that you can use in your everyday here at East Castle. As I said on February 23rd, how many of you know we have an in-house dietitian in Bradford Terrace? Wonderful. So she's going to give a speech on healthy choices you can make in our own dining room, which will be great. We also have, what's that?
What day of the week is that?
It is a Monday. Yeah. Following Anna's presentation in March, we're having Donna Gallardo, who is the owner of a local gym called She-Wolf MKE, and she's going to talk about adaptive fitness. And then in May, we're going to have Dr. Silver here in coordination with our wonderful resident wellness committee, and he's going to be speaking on the COVID pandemic and how prepared we are for the next possible pandemic. Any questions on that? Wonderful. And then our senior games. Has anyone signed up for our senior games yet? A couple. Wonderful. So, Jean, awesome. So to commemorate the upcoming Olympics in Milan, we're going to have a senior games. I know we did this a few years ago. It was awesome, lots of fun. We're going to be grouped into teams, and this will be on February 11th. So we're going to have bocce ball, we're going to have chair volleyball. So lots of fun stuff to do. And we ask that you sign up because there's a lot of planning that goes into this. And we just want to make sure everyone has a great time. So any questions on either of those? Any other questions for me? Mr. Hoffman?
Could you bring us up to date on the meeting with the alderman yesterday?
We will have an update for that in a little bit, yes, absolutely, 100%, but I think it went awesome. But yes, for those who don't know, the Low Vision Committee and a few other residents met with Alderman Brower yesterday to talk about some stuff. As far as, if you don't remember, we signed, or some of you signed a petition, or maybe not a petition, but just an offer of a letter to talk to the alderman and have him come out. So we had some visitors who went out on, and we walked around the area and looked at some hot spots and some areas that may be concerning. And I think it went very, very well. But yes, we will definitely get you guys an update on that. Any other questions for me? Liz?
Well, actually, then you look who, is it Anna you said? The person who's the dietitian.
The dietitian, Anna, yes.
And, well, the questions I would like to ask, there seems to be a great discrepancy in the amount of food that I receive on different days. And I would like to make sure that it's consistent, that I'm not always getting either too much or too little.
Sure. So Liz's question was, there seems to be some discrepancy in her serving sizes that she's getting for her meals. I don't know if that's a question for Anna as far as what I mean, she can help you what is an appropriate serving size, but Majarka and her team kind of control the serving sizes that go out. So her and the team can kind of look at that and make sure we're staying consistent with what we should be serving.
Okay, that'll be fine.
Wonderful. Any other questions for me? Wonderful. I will pass it on to Mike.
Thank you, Evan. I was very fortunate to be at that meeting yesterday afternoon with y'all, and my congratulations to the Low Vision Support Group and all the effort that went into that. This has been about a 2 or 3 year effort on their part to try to make your pedestrian environment around here a little bit safer. So I hope we're really on the right track here. I just have a couple of things to bring you up to date on. First of all, earlier this week, you all should have received on your ledges your 2025 donor tax letters from me. If you did not get a letter and you think you were supposed to, please see me. I can try to figure out what happened there. I will also point out, and the letters are by and large form letters. You know, the salutation changes per person, the dollar amounts change per person, but a lot of it is cut and paste. And you may or may not know, but Shirley Anthony is the first person in the alphabet here as a resident. So if a lot of you got letters addressed to Shirley Anthony, my cut and paste went wrong. And please come and see me. The numbers were probably right. Don't put them on Shirley's ledge. She got her own letter there, so don't worry about that. I will also point out that
there's a question in the back.
Could you say more about what that letter, I know a collection is taken during the year to donate
Sure.
for staff. What's on the paper that
Well, first of all, East Castle Place is a 501c3. We are a charitable tax-exempt corporation. Contributions to East Castle Place are tax deductible, state and federal. So anything you donated to East Castle Place, either for an initiative of ours or for an initiative to a partner nonprofit, like the Alzheimer's Association. We're currently doing things for the Parkinson's Foundation. If you made contributions to them, those are documented on those letters as well. What we recommend you do is share that letter with your tax accountant and let them, utilize it as appropriate. I know the standard deduction for some, may render the letter moot, but you donated, you deserve the documentation of that, and we provide it because we're very pleased that you did so. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, very good. I also, yes?
If people donated items to the auction for the Alzheimer's, do they get the tax receipt for the value amount of their donation?
If there was a documented value of the contribution, it was included in the valuation of the donation on the letter. If anybody has a question about how I calculated your total annual contribution, what was it Alzheimer's? Was it the Marshall High School? Was it Employee Appreciation Fund? Was it a gifts in lieu of cash? Come and see me. I can tell you what comprised the dollar amount on your letter, and hopefully we'll all agree that it was the right amount. Okay?
It's not the amount that was paid for.
It's the estimated value by the donor if there's a way of documenting that, correct? Yeah, absolutely. The other issue that I want to point out is that a lot of you live in households that have two names. Why there are two names is your business, not mine. But that sometimes leads to my confusion in how the letter gets made out. Does it get made out to the checkbook that wrote the donation? Does it get made out to 2 people? Do you each get a letter? If I did it wrong, this is a very simple process for me to correct. Please come and see me. I'll redo the salutation, and the letter will be made out the way that you had hoped it for. The other thing I want to point out is that this always becomes an issue about 5 months from now. And I want to address it now, and potentially on an ongoing basis. If the Employee Appreciation Fund wrapped up about 8 weeks ago. However, a lot of your neighbors donated to the Employee Appreciation Fund through monthly contributions. If you did so and you want that to continue in 2026, you have to come and see me and sign a new contract. The contract you signed for 2025 expired in November when the last contribution was added to your monthly bill. So if you want monthly contributions in 2026, we need to sign a new contract. So please come and see me, and we will take care of that for you. It can be in any cycle that you want. Most people will take monthly contributions for 10 months, but you could do it quarterly, you could do 2. It's strictly your choice. The other issue I want to point out to you is that 24% of your neighbors last year contributed through what is called qualified charitable distributions through your IRA or through donor-advised funds. Those are an annual process that you go through with your IRA, your accountant, and things like that. You don't have to do those things in October or November. You can do those things anytime during the course of a calendar year. And as a result of that, if you have an IRA and you want to make a contribution to a tax-exempt contribution through your IRA or through a donor-advised fund, and you aren't certain how to do that, come and see me. Ultimately, you're going to have to work with your investment advisor on it, but I can walk you through the process, and I'll be happy to do that. And it's a way for you to get money out of your IRA without paying taxes on it, and you contribute through anything, any nonprofit that you'd like to. I want to remind you that as a recommendation from your resident council, up until this year, the recommendation for the Employee Appreciation Fund was $10 a week, and for 2026, your resident council has recommended that that become $12 a week. For those of you that are interested in the math, a $520 recommended contribution. It is a donation and a free will offering, but that becomes, based on your resident council recommendation, $624 for each individual for the coming year. But it's a free will offering, and we're grateful for what people give. Any questions on those things? I wasn't here during the holidays. I was off spending time with my family. As a result of that, I didn't get an opportunity to give a New Year's toast to all of you, and I wish I would have had the opportunity, so I'm going to do it now. Cheers to the people who love us, the losers who lost us, and the lucky bastards who get to meet us. So, Happy New Year, everybody. Mayor Peterson.
Meet us.
Well put, Mike. I'll continue along with some of the questions. There we go. First question that was submitted by a resident was, what happens to all the things, particularly the wheelchairs that are put next to the garage door in Bradford Terrace? Specifically, just so you're aware, as you're leaving the garage, there's 2 doors in and out. Right next to the out, there's a storage space that we store essentially junk. We used to have a dumpster out back for many years, kind of unsightly, a little bit more convenient, but unsightly. We store them there now because it's close enough to an easy way to get out of the building without having to bring a dumpster in all the time. So most of that stuff gets junked. I don't know if with this question they're wondering what we do with the wheelchairs, if there's a better way to repurpose them, but as time allows, we basically just strip parts to reuse as necessary. But most everything that ends up there isn't stuff you'd want to keep anyways. There's something or another wrong with each part of those wheelchairs or pieces of junk. But for the most part, all that stuff should be contained into the room not always the case. Kind of amazes me how fast we accumulate junk sometimes. It's like a bad basement. Next thing I wanted to talk about was severe weather update. I just want to stress the fact that you've heard all about the low temperatures that are coming and the wind chills, but please, 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 if you don't have to go anywhere, starting tonight and through probably Saturday morning, don't. It's going to be really, really bad. We're taking steps from the maintenance department. We'll have 24 hours of maintenance here starting tonight. I want extra eyes on things because it doesn't take long for water pipes to break, for heaters to fail, for boilers to go down. We're already under notice from We Energies that there could be intermittent issues with the natural gas because everybody's using it at a high rate. Not to be of a concern. We are in a pretty reliable grid because we're next to the hospital for one. For two, we have an oil-based backup. That's the tanks that are out there that were recently painted. So we have oil backup for burning our boilers as well. So we're set up for it, but I just want people here because there's going to be complaints, there's going to be reports of cold. If you feel that anything is cold, just put a work order in. We'll be rounding to make sure that we're keeping an eye on it. We're going to hit some of the obvious vulnerable points, which is going to be the garage doors and areas associated. All three entrances are a weak point because we have to sprinkler those areas. So there is water right there. So if heat goes down for too long, it doesn't take too long for us to have a frozen water pipe and a sprinkler head, and that's about 80 pounds of water that'll come pouring out of there if it pops open. And then also the loading dock and a few other spots. So just so you know, maintenance will be on site. We do usually send someone, we're here till 6 p.m., but we'll stay here past that for the next, starting tonight and then through Saturday for the most part. Once temperatures come back up, things should be all right. And then there was a third question I caught. Susan was looking up to catch me on her way in. In the Bradford Terrace garage, as you enter the North Point Terrace garage, there's a lower level French drain there in the floor. And just to answer some questions about that, that's kind of our lowest point, all right? So when water backs up out of there, we know our lift station, which is up at the top of the ramp, has a problem with the pumps. And we've been having problems pretty steadily over the last month. And those are primarily due to the notice that I sent out, which is what the plumbers have been pulling out of the pumps is wipes. Today they pulled out a N95 mask, so thank you for that, however that got in there. Because they do send us pictures and videos, so we know pretty much what they're pulling out of the jammed pumps. There's two pumps in there. Think of it like they're not too different than a sump pump in a basement, except for they have more flow rate, and they're actually somewhat shredding pumps. So it'll shred certain debris that gets through to get it up and out. So what those are designed to do is, a part of the building is lower than street level. So it pumps up any drain water from that section of the building to a point where it can drain out to street level. That's what those are designed for. So if I'm not mistaken, it's about a third of North Point Terrace dumps into there. So basically rooms 12 through 18. Everything less than that is far enough over here. You'll notice like you're going through the garage, you're driving upward, same idea. That section of the building is higher and can drain to the street. The other section of the building is lower and actually has to drain out into a crock and get pumped up and out. Also, the big push of water that usually is why you see it in the morning is our laundry machines dump into there. And those are 90-pound machines, so they hold quite a bit of water. So we have to keep up on it right around that time. But the plumbers are down here routinely clearing debris out of those. We decided we're going to replace some of the shredding impellers, if you will, blades that are in there. So those are about 5 days out. But they'll be back to kind of redo that for us. But we're keeping a steady eye on it. Every once in a while, everything's good, and then we'll turn around and water's backing up. We're going to go pump it back down. But a majority of it, when you see water there, it's just laundry water. Because that's the big amount of flow that we get into there. Yes, Susan?
What about the smell? I felt last year, and we've had twice now this year, that I feel like I'm walking through a stable.
Oh, we've had it probably a dozen times this year already in the past month. That's why I say it's, every time the plumbers come out, it's about $2,000 a visit. So that's why we sent the letter, because there is nothing I can do to stop people from putting things in toilets. I can send a notice out all I want, but when it ends up in there and it backs up, the problem's already there, and all I can do is try to fix it.
Does the garbage disposal, feed into that also? Because at one point we were talking
Yeah,
about.
the drains from 2 through 18
Are
would, yeah.
are there things that
12.
you suggest that we definitely not put down the garbage disposal, like some of the strings on some vegetables and so on? Are there other things like that that we can do as helping prevent?
So the question was, so everyone could hear it, was, Susan said just kind of over the past, so it's been the odor, and it is interesting, odor tends to make its way towards Bradford Terrace for the most part, at least that part of the grass. It doesn't want to go up the hill. But also the second part is there anything we can do? What does the disposals dump in there? Is there anything we can do or put in there to cut that back? The odor's kind of the odor. I mean, I think honestly the majority of it comes from the laundry department when they're washing those clothes and the different things they're washing. But not much I can do except for once I have the plumber fix the problem, then we'll clean it up and then we deodorize the drain to make sure we knock out the smell. But when it keeps happening, we just kind of live through it until the plumber gets it cleared. But as far as what you put down the drains, that's not what's causing the issue seemingly. It's more like those wipes, as an example, are nylon based. Those are really difficult to shred. Stuff that you put down your disposal.
Personal cleansing wipes, maybe clarify, yeah.
What's that?
Right, personal cleansing wipes and
Flushable.
flushable wipes.
They are not flushable.
They are
To
not
be very
flushable.
clear, they are not flushable. I sent an article. I put in the letter I sent out an article from the I think it was I don't know if it was the Better Business Bureau or I can't remember who it was. Consumer Reports, that's what it was. And actually did a whole article about what those nylon wipes not only do to the plumbing side of things, but what it does once it gets out of here. They're really bad and they are not flushable. Do not believe that packaging for anything. Don't do that. So, yes,
Did you say you sent out a letter?
I did. It may have come out email based.
Yeah?
3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
I didn't get it.
I don't remember it.
We should have had that one go up. Well, anyhow, I'll resend it. Not a big deal. Yeah, but anyways, it talks about wipes, and then it talks about kind of an article based on what happens with these flushable wipes, these supposed flushable wipes. But the key point is they're not to ever use those flushable wipes in the drain. They can just go in the garbage like anything else and just get taken out.
What about walking through that water? I saw the water this morning and turned around and went back up and around and so on.
Correct response, to turn around and walk away from the water, yeah. I walked through it this morning. So.
Okay, I kind of figured that was the case.
Yeah, no, you have the right approach. We responded as quickly as we're able, but usually we'll find out about it early in the morning because of the laundry machines that dump into it. And then we'll call out J.M. Brennan, who's a plumbing contractor we use, and they dispatch out here pretty quick for us. And then it's usually about a 4 to 5 hour process from the pull the pumps out of the crock, clean everything out of it, wipe it down, and then send it back in, and then reassemble everything, clean up. Any other questions?
There's another question that's
Yes,
going to
ma'am.
be, you drive through it 3 times a day, that odor lingers in your car for a long time.
Well, do your best to remind everybody not to use flushable wipes, because that's what they found every time. Now, like I say, unfortunately, the only other alternative to it, which I'm not interested in, is to put a steel catch basin as that drain enters that crock. I don't think that's a suitable resolution, because you have to open the crock at least every couple days to clear that, and I don't know if that's the best use of anyone's time or the best way to deal with it. I think if we just understand, it's much like recycling. We understand what to recycle. There's been notices put out. There's stuff at the garbage rooms and such. We understand what's recycling, what's not. Same thing with wipes and such. We shouldn't be using them. Stick to toilet paper. Use wipes, go to garbage. Any other questions for me? All right, we'll go on to Majorca.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to give a couple of updates and reminders really about reservations. So we have become much more strict at the host stand that if you do not have a reservation, we're asking you to come back a little bit later so you kind of fit into the layout for the night. We take a certain amount of reservations at each 15 minutes, so it's a good flow for not only the staff, the kitchen, and also for you guys, so we can properly take care of you. Please know that we are not feeding anybody. that if you do not want to come back later, we are offering to punch something in and bring it up to your room for you as well. We just really want everybody to have the best dining experience, so we really want you to make those reservations. So reservations are needed every night for dinner, and then for the buffets as well, so we can kind of prepare and make sure we have enough food for everybody. Any questions with the reservations? We've been much, much better this week. Yes?
What time should we call it in by? Is it 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock?
It is supposed to be 3 o'clock, but you know, if you know by noon what time you're gonna come to dinner, the sooner you know the better, so we can kind of plan appropriately. Like, we don't want to overproduce or underproduce whatever the special is for the night. So we really use that reservation number to determine how much food we're gonna prepare. So I'll just use last night as an example. Last night we have lamb chops. If we always prepared the same amount of lamb chops, we would have either not enough or a huge waste. So seeing last night that we only had reservations for about 55, we knew we could produce a lot less. So again, the sooner you know that, the better. If you have a large group, please also, the sooner you know you're gonna have that larger group, let us know. It's difficult for a server and the kitchen to be taking care of, 6, 7 tops at the same time. So again, the more notice, the better. The other update I have is green containers. So you will notice that there's some new white green containers. The green containers are becoming a little bit more difficult to get, so I had to order the white ones. Those still count as the green containers, so still return them just as you would the green containers. And if you can return them a little bit more timely, that would be fantastic. I'm sure you guys noticed over the past couple weeks, sometimes you're getting dinner in styrofoam. We don't want to do that, but unfortunately, when we're out of containers, we need to still give you guys your dinner somehow, so that is what's happening. And then lastly, tonight we just have our last night of the pop-up in the 1884, which you do not need a reservation for. That's just kind of pop on down, get a quick bite to eat, and then that's at 5 o'clock tonight. Any other questions for myself? Nope. All right, and then I think it's up to Lindsay.
Lower this back down for myself. Whoops. All right. Thank you, Majorca. Well, first, I'm going to welcome up a new face to the team. And if you all saw the memo that went out about Gigi Ramos, our new executive assistant, who is officing in that side office outside of where the main printer is, down the administrative hallway. But Gigi's on week 2, but we want her to just give a brief introduction of herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gigi. I am on week 2 at the castle. I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited to learn all of your names very soon. It would be super great if you stopped by my office, if you could always remind me of your name, and I will always remind you of mine. Brief introduction. I worked recently as a mental health specialist. I have some recent ability in administrative duties, but I am learning very quickly on board at the castle. I do also live very close to the castle, so I've always had a view of the beautiful outdoor space, and I've always dreamed of working here, so it's very exciting to actually be on site and be here. I will be staying after a little bit if you have any more questions about me personally or wanting to get to know me. And also, my office hours. I work on site 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, or Monday through Thursday. I'm not here on Fridays at all. There will be a little sign on my door, and it will always be closed if you need to reach me, and I do have a voicemail that you can reach me at. But I'll be after if you have any more questions for me right now, and you can always stop by my office as well.
Thanks, Gigi. Welcome. Excellent. And then a couple more updates. So I just want to make you all aware, we will have some new visitors, and if you came to Lattes with Lindsay last week, I mentioned that we will have our board meeting on Tuesday in Lindsay Hall here in the morning from around 8 to noon, which is always great, one of our quarterly full board meetings. With that, we will have several individuals from Life Care Services on site, and Barrett Way, who is our Director of Operations Management, who will be getting a new territory, and so we will be getting a new Director of Operations Management. And there we go, let there be light. And her name is Cheryl Strickland. So Cheryl will be on site along with Kate Webster, who is our new Regional Sales and Marketing Support, as we are switching to the Strickland Business Unit. And you'll see them walking around the community. They've never been to East Castle, so very excited to show off the balmy Milwaukee weather, while also just our beautiful community. So a good time to be indoors, but you'll see some new faces in the hallways. So just want to make you all aware that will be Monday afternoon, but mostly Tuesday the 27th. And then I wanted to provide an update on the Alderman visit yesterday on behalf of Joanne. And so last night we had Alderman Brower and then 2 individuals from DPW on site, and they took a tour with our low vision group and some neighbors down Bradford, or crossing the street at Stoll here, down Bradford Avenue, and then looking at the corner of Prospect and Bradford intersection. So a lot of takeaways. They had 2 full pages of notes I saw sitting in the front with them, which we always like to see, but as always, someone can take notes, but what happens with those notes? So we tasked them, and I think they left with a full agenda of things they need to go back and look at, but a few of the immediate items that we are able to see probably in the next week is our goal, and we're going to hold them accountable to that in the next week, is they are going to extend the timers for the crosswalks on Downer and Bradford Ave there. Right now, from when it turns to walk to when it turns to yellow is 24 seconds. So pretty quick, and especially with those, the intersection ramps not being as conducive if you have an adaptive device. So with that, they are now going to extend it to 45 seconds for each of those 4 crosswalks. So doubling or extending the time significantly, which is great. So that should help those who do have low vision, or I mean just this general time of the year when it's icy, or you're being cognizant of where you're stepping, or just even potholes that come up about during the winter months. So that will extend our ability to get across the street more safely. Another option that they are going to do or look into immediately is expanding on the Stoll intersection here with no parking for 15 feet on the front end of the driveway pulling into the Bradford roundabout, and 15 feet pulling out of it as well. And that is due to the fact that when you walk out, cars will sometimes obstruct your vision as you are crossing, and you don't want to be halfway in the road, obviously, when there's a car coming and not slowing down at that rate. So that's exciting to see. And then they also are looking to improve the signage there so that it has a pedestrian crosswalk on both sides of the street coming from east and west. So those are some of the immediate improvements that we should see, and efforts, obviously, that the city is going to do. Many thanks to, obviously, Joanne and you all in support of the kind of grassroots signed up campaign for the safety of our neighbors, as well as you all for that intersection, as this is your home. Some things down the line, obviously, that just take a bit more funding and city planning is, in the next 5 years, they are looking at redoing Highway 32 here, which is Prospect Avenue, and 5 to 10 years. I think that was a quite vague, large number, so who knows, sometimes with those city planning, how long that actually can be. But there would be improvements in the crosswalks and intersections as those get developed and get drawn out. So I know some of you mentioned last night that you got little cards about potentially that construction that would be coming in the next 5 years. Again, if you do hear information on that, have feedback, call those cards and email and submit tickets to the city website with your feedback. The intersection right here on Stoll in front of our Bradford entrance, as well as the intersection on Downer and Bradford, the geography in me here, that is going to be an extended period before they probably look at improving those intersections and rampways, because the goal would be to have ultimately 2 rampways, obviously one going north and one going west, or one going east and one going south, rather than the central one that goes off and you have to split. Obviously, that comes money, or that comes with an expense and requires money. And the city, they made very clear, doesn't quite have the funds allocated to that. There are different workarounds that they're going to consider, because apparently, and I would agree with this sentiment of just obviously experiencing that intersection myself, it is not potentially up to ADA code. So I think if it's not up to ADA code, that would get expedited versus something that would just be on the agenda down the line for the city. One thing they did recognize and notate is there is a portal or a concern line essentially that you can submit a ticket into, reporting if there is a sidewalk that is unlevel, especially on Downer. I know some of those, and as spring comes about, things expand and shift, obviously with the cold weather. Please report that to the city. They take that, they use that. If you see an unshoveled sidewalk as well, report that to the city, because then they are able to capitalize on that, whether it's a business owner or a general safety concern for the integrity of our sidewalks, in order for you all to have a safer commute down our beautiful walkable Downer, or whether you're going to the lake. So please log on the city's website and submit those tickets for, similar to probably our work sub system, but a little bit easier. You just need to notate where it was located and what you observed. So overall, a very positive meeting, I would say. Round of applause for our low vision group and each and every one of you. And the alderman also was interested in coming back for a happy hour. So as we almost kept him to 5 o'clock, but not quite. But so stay tuned. Perhaps we'll have a happy hour with Alderman Brower or the gentleman from DPW. So, yeah.
One other question that is not city required, but the snow that comes at the corners that cars and buses push up to the sidewalk, freezes and becomes 6 inches, a foot, 3 feet of unnavigable space. The lights might be great, but you can't go through that. Is there any way that our great snow shovelers here can help by shoveling the snow, at least on our corner here, which would be Downer and Bradford?
So the statement was surrounding the corners and when the snow plows come versus our snow shoveling capabilities, because sometimes you get that buildup. Our team does shovel those intersections. I think the problem comes in similar when we all shovel our driveway, or used to shovel our driveways. You shovel it, and then the snowplow comes by, and you have another 6 inches of a threshold there now going into your driveway. Our team I appreciate that feedback if you are experiencing that. That's always good for us to know and good feedback, because we want that experience for you to cross intersections to be as safe and comfortable as possible. We are aware of that and always trying to improve that. If you see an area that needs some TLC, after the snow and after the plows are gone for that matter, or they won't be plowing our area anymore, please let us know. Let the front desk know we're putting a work order, and we can always go back out, throw a little salt on that, and readdress that to the best of our abilities. It always seems too convenient when we finish snow plowing, then the plows drive right by and build that right back up. It's like chutes and ladder when it comes to snow removal this year. Any other questions on Alderman Brewer's visit? Well, then I will open up the floor to other questions that you all might have. Lynn?
I just wanted to say, I forgot when I was pontificating earlier, This election involves people who live in independent living, if you want to run for council. And we have 4 seats that will be open. 2 of our members will be running for re-election, but there are 4, quote, vacancies. So if you're independent living and you're thinking about it, come and talk to us. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
Liz.
have a question, and forgive me if it's already been discussed here, but, when I go out at night, I have a driver, and so I don't have to drive myself, but I still have a problem, talking. There we go. The problem is that, problem is that but the thing is that when we come back, we have to go around, get into the underground, we have to go, take a circuitous step to get back into the lower level. And isn't there, has that been addressed at all?
So the question was about when you are pulling in to the underground, obviously it is inconvenient that we do have to go around the entire city block. If there was a workaround to that, unfortunately, no. That is above my pay grade right there. I think the hospitals too at that rate, as well as the Catholic home, our neighbors next door. So I would say soak up that Milwaukee scenery, as we make that city block roundabout one more time to get to the underground, because we do have a lot of one-ways. We know in Milwaukee it is unique, our one-way experience here, but obviously it's for the safety. I don't know about you, I've seen many people actually go the wrong ways on these one-ways. So obviously always be a safe steward when you're behind the wheel, and I think we're all familiar with this area, but no, we still have to do the one-way if you want to get into the underground. Who has the next question? No? All right, well then we have 10 minutes back in your day before 2 o'clock. Otherwise, please stay safe this weekend, stay warm, stay healthy, and we will see you all next time. Thank you.